Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Come on in. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday. We are on day 11. Y'all, we have officially gotten to the halfway point. Day 11. It's 21 days. We are officially at the halfway mark. We made it. We made it. We made it. We're making it. So good morning. Good morning, Faith. I see you coming on in the morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody that's watching. Good morning to everybody who circles back and watches the replay. I've been getting the comments of replay, so I love that. But I love the live. I was gonna say I love the love. I love the live conversation that we have been having. My hair's a mess. The live conversations that we've been having. So come on in. What's up, YouTube? What's up to everybody watching on YouTube? Good morning. Um, y'all had a little conversation going on the other day, but good morning. Today we are on day 11. We are going to be talking about releasing old thought patterns. Yes. And I see it's not a lot of people on. And I know y'all gonna come on and I'm gonna repeat myself because y'all gonna like, what we talking about? What we talking about? Come on in. Come on in. I told y'all, set those alarms, set your alarms so that you could be here on time when we are hopping on to talk about releasing old thought patterns. Yeah, come on, because yesterday was a good one. I mean, listen, every day has been good, but I really think that it has been getting progressively better as the days go on. It's like the conversations are building upon one another. So I love that. I love that for us. So here we are. Okay, I'm gonna get started because I know we gotta be out of here. We gotta be out of here by 6:30. And it's important for us while we're on this distraction detox to understand what it truly means to release old thought patterns. Because if everything else is evolving but your thoughts, then I would even caution to say, are you truly, really evolving? Are you really, you know, growing, developing, maturing? Come on, leveling up if your mindset and your thought patterns are still the same. You know what I mean? So you got to release old thought patterns in order for you to be successful on this distraction detox. You got to let go of some old stinking thinking. That's what they like to call it back in the day. You got to let go of some old stinking thinking. Come on. I know. Come on, I know. Here we go. Day 11. Releasing old thought patterns. We got to let some thought patterns go. We got to get rid of the stinking thinking. So, day 11, day 11. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. All right, here we are. Let's renew our thoughts. Good morning, Ashley. Good morning, Faith. All right. Come on, let's start to realize what it means to let go of some stinking thinking. Okay. It's really, old thought patterns, but I like to say stinking thinking. So we've been releasing the weight. We've been setting boundaries. We've been thinking through like relationships and the distractions that come with that. We've chosen peace. We've done all these things. And today I want to take it a little step deeper. We just keep going deeper and deeper every day. But I just want to take it a little step deeper because today I want us to release those thought patterns. Yes, the thought patterns that keep us tied to what we've already outgrown. hmm So if we're saying like, there have been some relationships, some environments, come on, some opportunities even that we had to release due to them being distractions in our life, then I want us to release the thought patterns, one, that kept us tied to what we've already outgrown. We even said that in the area of relationships yesterday. We were talking about how sometimes we stayed because it was comfortable, or sometimes, we understood that this wasn't the right thing for us in the right moment at the right time. And we stayed because we didn't want to be alone, or we don't want to, go through, whatever we were going through with our friends, or whatever the case may be. But what we have to understand is it's the thought pattern that keeps you in places and spaces that you have outgrown. So we got to check our thought patterns while we're walking throughout this detox, okay? So let me just like pose a question out there. Good morning, Shamira. Good morning. Let me just pose a question and just ask you and just like, have you ever made a decision to move forward in whatever area, in whatever area? But have you ever just like made a decision and said, you know what, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to show up different. I'm gonna just keep, I'm going to just develop. I'm going to grow. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to move forward. But your thoughts kept pulling you backward. But something in the back of your head told you, know what, man, you can't do that. It ain't time. You're not ready. Just have you ever been ready to made a decision to move forward, but your thoughts kept pulling you backward? It's almost, it's synonymous to what we were talking about yesterday. It's like you release the relationship, but replay the conversations over and over in your head. Trying to think about what did I do wrong? What could I have said better? What could I have done better? It's like us saying that we're going to choose peace, but we feel guilty in quiet moments. It's like, am I choosing peace or I'm going to stick with guilt? Right? That's because release is not only external, and that's the thing. That's the thing I think most of us deal with. We believe that, you know, that you I guess like I guess I'm trying to say that we feel like because we release it externally that there's no internal process that has to happen. And I would caution to say that that's not always true because release is mental. It has to happen in your mind first. In order for you to be successful in any external thing, your mind has to already one be made up. Because you cannot walk in freedom while thinking in captivity. Just imagine that. You saying all this, I'm gonna be free from this, I'm gonna do this differently, I'm gonna show up differently. Bada boom, bada bang, right? And I love that for us. But one thing I do want us to understand is we can't walk in freedom and we're still thinking like a captive. Ooh, come on. Come on. You can't walk in freedom while thinking in captivity. Romans 12 and 2, it says that let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Oh, that's so good. Transformation begins in the mind first. Your life and your actions follow your thinking. Come on, y'all. Come on, wake up this morning. Come on, wake up. I know, listen, it's Thursday, right? Yeah, today's Thursday. Yes, it's Thursday. We're getting closer to the weekend. Look, we tired. Y'all heard in my voice. That's not sleep. I lost my voice yesterday at my son's basketball game. All of us got stuff going on, but come on, let's lock in because these thought patterns are not going to keep us in a place that God has delivered us from. We do not want our thinking to aid in our distractions. Okay? We do not want our thinking to aid in our distractions. So, Romans 12 and 2, it tells us to let God transform us into a new person by changing the way we think. Transformation begins in the mind. Your life follows your thinking. However, you think about your life, that is where you're going to go. What you think, you become. Who you think you are, you become. Your mind is so powerful because if you tell yourself, if your mind believes I am the greatest, I will fulfill it, I will do it, I will make a way. Let me tell you, that is what's going to be evident in your life because your life will follow your thinking. But we got to start to recognize those old thought patterns. When we are walking in the way of transformation, it's important for us to, be able to spot those old thought patterns. And guess what old thought patterns they sound like? Old thought patterns say things like, maybe I was wrong. You start to tell yourself like maybe I was wrong, which is sometimes is good reflection. though, because sometimes we do be wrong. But no, like the old thought patterns, they always have you questioning, did you make the right move? Or when you start to stand up for yourself, you start to say things like, what if I think, what if they think? Here we go with them old thought patterns. That's what they sound like. What if they think I'm selfish because you put up a boundary? Come on, no, no, no. Or you begin to say things like, maybe I should just go back to how things were. I had more friends then. People liked me better then. When, of course, people liked you when you didn't have any boundaries. Of course, people liked you when you thought that you were less than. Or we say things like, I don't want to disappoint anyone. All the while, you're disappointed in yourself. You get me? That's what them old thought patterns do. These thoughts don't come to guide you. That's what you got to understand too. Old thought patterns, pessimistic thinking, that type of thinking and those type of thoughts, they don't come to guide you. They come to pull you back to familiarity. They come to pull you back to stagnation. They come to pull you back to a place that you have already outgrown. Come on, Faith. Positive thinking changes brain pathways. Yes, it does. That's what we like to call a growth mindset. Come on. Growth mindsets. Yeah. Now, Ashley, listen, Ashley, I'm talking about all of us. I'm talking about all of us because we be tripping sometimes. And we do. We do. But what we understand is your past will negotiate with your future if you keep listening. And we wonder why we're moving in the right direction, but we don't feel like we're elevating. This is why. Because we keep allowing our past over here to negotiate with our future that's up here. Because we keep listening to that old mindset. We keep listening to that less than thinking, to that pessimistic thoughts, to the negative mindsets and all of that. We keep trying to talk ourselves out of things. And it's like, could you imagine as a woman leaving unhealthy situations physically, right? But remain emotionally and mentally tied to that thing? That is so exhausting. Could you imagine being free? Look what the Fantasia say. Go ahead and free yourself. Listen, you free yourself physically, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, you're still tied. That is so exhausting because it keeps you in a place of emotional, spiritual, and mental trauma. Come on. Let that sink in. You know how exhausting that is for you? And then when you do that, when you stay emotionally and mentally and spiritually tied to something where that you were physically released from, it puts you in this forever merry-go-round and forever loop of guilt. Come on. It's so crazy that some of us as women, we leave unhealthy situations. We will leave unhealthy situations physically, but we remain in those unhealthy situations emotionally and mentally. Good morning. Good morning. Let me say that again. Some of us as women, we will literally leave an unhealthy situation physically, but mentally and emotionally, we stay tied. And when we do that, it becomes so exhausting to the progress and productivity of our lives that we get stuck in this thing called a guilt loop. A guilt loop is when you can set a boundary, but then you feel guilty. You set a boundary, but then you over explain. So, which leads you to then reopen access to the thing that you were trying to protect yourself from in the beginning. And then you begin to feel drained. And this type of cycle will keep women stuck for years. This is why people stay in relationships that they know that they should not be in. This is why people stay in situations where they know it's doing more harm than good. This is why people stay in jobs and in friendships and in environments that they know is not good for them. It's because of this guilt loop. It keeps you going in circles and in circles. And then you find yourself repeating cycles. And you're like, man, I thought I graduated from this, but then you find yourself still there. That's because of the guilt loop. That is so exhausting. And I'm not blaming you for it or shaming you for it, but I want you to begin to be able to recognize it. If you're going to be on this 21-day distraction detox, we can no longer allow the guilt distraction to keep us in a place that we are not supposed to. Guilt loop will literally have you, after you set a boundary, after you get your heart safe, after you get your mind safe, after you get everything about you safe, but then you begin to feel guilty. Then you begin to over explain yourself. You begin to give reason to no when sometimes it's just no. But then you get yourself into reopening access to people who never deserved your energy in the first place. And then we begin to feel drained again. And that is a cycle that keeps women stuck for years. Whether you're stuck emotionally, whether you're stuck mentally, or whether some of us get stuck and trapped into situations physically. Mm. And we got to understand guilt is not always conviction. Sometimes it is conditioning. Guilt will condition you to stay in the same place and to take the same abuse or to take the same, less than, treatment. We get conditioned to deal with people who don't really love us, but that tolerate us. Oh, we can't stay stuck there. And it's crazy how some of us were trained to over accommodate. And we would believe that that's keeping the peace. And we begin to put ourselves last. But growth requires some rewiring. Come on. Come on. If we are going to renew old thought patterns and to release them, not even renew, but if we're going to release old thought patterns, we got to understand growth requires rewiring. You got to think about these things differently. You got to think about you differently. And this is how we begin. Listen, I got y'all. I got y'all. Because it's not always easy to release old thought patterns. It's not. It's sometimes it's easier said than done. But we're going to do the hard work. We're going to start taking self-inventory, self-examination, and we're going to do the hard work because if this is going to be my season of divine focus, then I got to change the way that I think about because thinking is also seeing. Come on, if you come on, listen, I can break this thing down. But we only got about 10 more minutes. Seeing is also thinking. It's in your perspective, right? It's in your perspective. So we got to begin to release old thinking. The first way that we begin to do that is we got to notice the thought. Notice the thoughts, right? We don't ignore it. We identify it. We don't ignore the thoughts. We identify them. And then the second way to release old thinking is to question the thought. Why do you feel like this? What is this thought doing for me? You question the thought. You ask, is this truth or is this fear? You got to be able to identify that. Come on, we have to make the decisions to release the weights, right? How can you release the weight, release the old way of thinking when you can't identify, is this truth speaking to me or is this fear? So you got to notice the thought. You got to question the thought. The third thing is you have to replace those negative thoughts. You got to choose the truth of your situation over habit. Come on. Good morning. You have to choose truth over habit. I know you've done it like this for umpteenth years, but what is the truth that this thing is revealing in your life? Instead of feeling guilty or telling yourself, man, I feel guilty for choosing, I feel guilty for doing it this, I feel guilty for choosing me. Instead of always telling yourself that you feel guilty, sometimes you got to sit back and tell yourself, you know what, I made a healthy decision. I made a healthy decision. I may not have done the most popular thing. I may not have done the thing that would usually make people feel better about themselves and crumble me. I may not have done that, but you know what? I made a healthy decision. Instead of, man, they may be hurt about this. You got to tell yourself, I honored my growth. I didn't allow myself to be a doormat. I didn't allow people to abuse and to misuse me. I honored my growth in this situation. We are always externally putting everybody's wants and needs before our own, that we feel guilty about making a healthy decision. Instead of telling yourself, you know what, I made a healthy decision, you say, I feel guilty because they feel bad. You got to start telling yourself, I honored my growth. Especially if you want to be free. Come on. Especially if you want to be free from the bondage of people and their thoughts. Now, listen, if you still want to be held captive by people's opinions about who you are, God bless. But for those of us who want to be free from people's thoughts and their bondage over us, and living how they think that we should live, then we have to start making healthy choices that line up with not just our purpose, but our peace. Freedom grows where truth replaces fear. You have to allow the truth of the matter to replace the fear of the familiar. Oh, you got to allow the truth of the matter to replace the fear of the familiar. We are in so much fear because we are sticking with the familiar, but truth, we got to allow truth to set us free. So we got to start thinking, okay, what thoughts do I need to release today? In order for me to not get so bogged down with distraction and so bogged down with guilt and with laziness and with not accepting the new, you got to ask yourself, okay, what do I need to release? Do I need to release guilt? Do I need to release fear? Some of us need to release doubt. Some of us really have to release overthinking. Because let me tell you something, awareness breaks cycles. When you are aware of a thing, you break the cycle of control that it has over your life. Come on. Awareness breaks cycles. The more aware you are, the less control that bondage has over your life. So when you have a thought that begins to pull you backward, you got to pause and ask yourself, is this truth? Or is this fear trying to keep me familiar? This is not my familiar season. This is my favorite season. And if I'm going to be favorite, then I got to break away from the familiar. I got to begin to have that awareness. And I got to tell myself, listen, I'm not going to allow guilt to keep me stagnant. So when that thought begins to try to pull you backwards, when you begin to tell yourself like maybe I'm not good enough, when you begin to tell yourself, well, if I release this pain from my life, then I'm not going to have nobody, that nobody ain't going to want me. I'm never going to have the friendships that I see on Instagram. I'm never going to be this. I'm never going to be that. When those thoughts start to pull you back, baby, you got to pause and you got to ask yourself, is this truth or is this fear trying to keep me in this familiar cycle? And if you notice and if you're able to be aware enough and recognize that, okay, this is a familiar loop, come on, it's trying to guilt loop me, then you got to replace it with truth. You got to begin to replace those familiar thoughts and that pessimistic thinking with truth. Some of us need a truth statement that we go back to. Because listen, you are allowed to think differently than you were trained to. This world, this culture, these people, society, ministry, whatever it is, they all try to condition us, especially us as women, and train us on how to think and what we should be allowed to accept. That's why I really think that women have such this hard stigma of relationships with one another. And this is why, jealousy and things really plague. And I don't want to make this a race thing, but it really plagues the Black community amongst women because of society and because of, I would even say, this patriarchal world and religion that we live in. It really has done a number on Black women to the point where I don't know why we have this stigma amongst one another and this disdain and this way of thinking about one another, that we treat each other so wrong in relationships and we walk away from each other, no closure, no conversations, and we just bicker and complain and we assume the worst when it comes to us as women. And oh my God, I don't know what it is, but I really want us to know we are allowed to think differently than we were trained to think. It's okay to be a girl's girl. It's okay to be a woman's woman. It is okay to forgive your sisters. My thing is, one thing I've never understood is we will forgive a man at the drop of a dime. Men can do, they can cheat. And I know people say, well, is that difference? But is it really? Hurt is hurt. Betrayal is betrayal. Mistrust is mistrust. Pain is pain. But it's like the moment you get into not even just a rift, it could be a total misunderstanding with another woman. We won't have the hard conversations because society has told us to disconnect from that partnership. But if you only really knew how much stronger we were together. So I want us to start to begin to question. And we got to tell ourselves that we are allowed to think differently than we were trained to. Just because I thought that when I was younger, I matured. And now I have a new mindset. Come on, I used to think that way when I was a child, but now that I am older, I done put away childish things. I used to think that way when I didn't have anything. I used to think that way when I didn't have any self-esteem. Come on, I used to think that way when I didn't have confidence. I used to think that way when I didn't know who I really was. I used to think that way when I was the tail and not the head, but now I'm the head and not the tail. Come on, I used to think that way when I was below and not above. I am above and not beneath. We got to start beginning to say, listen, you're right. Because people will try to press rewind on you. Listen, people will try to press rewind on you and take you back to a place that you have already elevated from. And we got to be able to look those doubters, come on, look those naysayers, look that old pessimistic thinking, our own stinking thinking, our old selves, our inner selves. We got to begin to look at those things and those people and those attitudes and those mindsets. And we got to say, you know what? I think differently now. I am allowed to grow. I am allowed to evolve. I am allowed to become whole. You are allowed to begin to think differently than you were trained to think. You are allowed to. Isaiah 26:3, it tells us, we will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you and all whose thoughts are fixed on you. So you want peace? Peace follows focused thinking. Is your thinking focused? Is your thinking focused? And some of our thinking is not focused because our eyes are not fixed on Christ. Our thoughts are not fixed on Christ. And if this is going to be our season of divine focus, we got to take our eyes off man. We got to take our thoughts off of people pleasing and we got to put them on God. We got to say, God, renew our minds. Help us to release the thoughts that keep us bound to old patterns. Somebody got to say that. Somebody got to pray that prayer. Because I know it ain't just me. Some of us, we got to be like, God, please renew our minds. God, please renew my mind. Help me to release the thoughts that keep me bound to old patterns. We got to recognize what fear disguised as wisdom looks like. Okay. And we got to replace that guilt with clarity, replace that doubt with the truth. We got to choose some new thinking, new freedom, some new peace. Come on. We got to release the old thinking and replace the fear with truth. This is my season to replace fear with truth and clarity and walk in clarity and peace. Oh, come on. I'm going to say that again. This is my season to replace fear with truth and walk in clarity and peace. This is my season of clarity and peace because that's what's going to keep me focused. That's what's going to keep me focused. That's what's going to keep me focused. Oh my God. But listen, we're talking about releasing the old thinking, and we're about to be done. We're about to be done 6:30. But we got to understand this important principle. I don't care what you walk away from in the physical. If you never release it mentally, you're still bound to it. You're not free. I don't care what you release in the physical form. If your mind is still there, then you are not free. That distraction will keep you bound. Good morning. That distraction will keep you bound to relationships, to friendships, to partnerships, to your own stinking thinking, your own negative thoughts. Release is not complete until your thinking changes. This is why we got to ask God to renew my mind. Release is not complete until your thinking changes. But let me speak to you, to the woman who is watching this, who has made up in her mind that even before my physical situation changed, I'm no longer that person. Oh my God. I used to hear my cousin Bishop Hassan say this. He said, you got to come out head first. Just think about the birth, the birth process. The right way to be birthed into something new is head first. This is why the natural order of birth is for the baby to come out head first. But you got to think about that in a spiritual aspect. You can't be born into something new. They call it, it's usually a malfunction if a baby comes out breech. Because the natural order of things is your mind has to change first. You can't walk into a new season or be birthed into a new anything if your head does not come out first. And in the spiritual aspect of it, we're talking about you got to come out thinking differently first. In order for you to be removed and to replace an old situation with a new one, you got to think about that thing differently. Because this is a season of your life where I speak and I prophesy and I pray to God that you do not go backward. You are becoming new. All things new for you. Every woman that can hear me and hear me clearly, you are not going backward. You are not going back to that old way of thinking about who you once were, what you used to do, how they felt about you. You are becoming new. All things new for you in this season. This is your season of divine focus, and your divine focus is going to take you to new heights, new levels. Come on, new opportunities of favor, new opportunities in your marriage and in your love life, in your relationships. It may look lonely now. Come on. It may not look complete now, but I'm telling you, if you just change the way you think, God got something greater for you. Come on, it gets greater later. And I'm not saying later in the aspect of thinking you got to wait years. I believe that God is doing a new thing and he is doing it now. You do not to go backwards. You are becoming new. You are becoming new. I want you to know that your mind is renewed and freedom is becoming your new normal. You are free, baby girl. You are free. You are free from the bondage of people and their opinions about you. You are free. Oh, God. So, tomorrow, I know we talked about releasing all old thought patterns today. Tomorrow, I really want to talk to us about emotional triggers. Because remember, if we're going to release these things, we cannot be held captive by our emotions. And those emotions are tricky. So tomorrow, we're going to be talking about emotional triggers. All right? But say this with me. Today, your mind is being renewed. And freedom is becoming your new normal. You are free. You are free. Oh my God. Somebody needed to hear that this morning. You are free. Stop letting people press rewind on you and take you back to a place of bondage. You are free. But remember, if you are free, you cannot walk in freedom while thinking in captivity. You got to change the way you think. You cannot walk free while thinking in captivity. I love y'all, man. I really do. I love y'all. I pray that you have the most amazing day today. I pray that God begins even working now on the renewing of your mind and that you begin to walk out one of the best seasons of your life. That not only does your focus shift, your faith shifts. In the name of Jesus, I'm telling you, man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because I see what God is doing. I feel it, and I'm so grateful because my thing is, I want us to win. And ladies, this is your season to win. And I'm so grateful that God has allowed me to be just like a little fly on the wall in these holistic women streets. But holistic women, you guys, listen, this is your season. And this is why the enemy fights us the way he fights us, because he knows when we make up in our mind that we are going to do something, we are unstoppable. And you are unstoppable because this is your season of freedom. All right, y'all. I gotta let y'all go. I truly, truly love y'all. We back tomorrow, 6 a.m. Set your alarms and tell somebody to join us. I love y'all so much. Have a great day.